Hello, my friends. I am so happy today to welcome to my channel the most beautiful and powerful heart and mind of Loretta Taylor. Loretta has her own channel and recently invited me to be on her channel. And this is the first time I'm actually hosting anyone on mine. Loretta is a student and a teacher of the Course in Miracles. And she began to see how the near death and out of body experience dovetailed with the Course in Miracles. And so when she has guests on, it is with the resonance of a certain passage or a theme in the Course of Miracles, which I have read from cover to cover in my early 30s. I think I did that. So I'm going to hand the camera and the attention over to Loretta. Thank you so much for being here. It's such an honor.
Thank you so much, Gretchen, for that beautiful introduction. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be here with you on your platform. I was thinking about it's very important that we are in a space that is non-judgmental and loving and that is safe for people to share their different experiences. And that is definitely what I feel on your platform, is this beautiful space of openness and love, because that's why we're here, right? It's all about love. So thank you for inviting me. I have not had a near-death experience, but I did want to share my spiritual journey to awakening with you and your viewers. I'm going to start out by highlighting lesson 31 of A Course in Miracles. And thank you, Gretchen, for speaking about my channel. And so I began teaching A Course in Miracles. Of course, I began as a student of A Course in Miracles, and then I began teaching it. And I didn't, folks who were joining me when I was teaching it were not students of A Course in Miracles. They just enjoyed showing up and me doing my little thing, and they ask questions and we just kind of dialogue. So, but after a while, I got tired of hearing myself talk. And then I decided to start inviting near-death experiencers. And as you talked about, Gretchen, it is very resonant. The near-death experience is very resonant with the Course in Miracles. It's just the truth. And that's the beauty of the truth. The truth does not change, no matter what source, whether it's from a book, whether it's from an experience, it doesn't change. And so I thought, you know what, this will be fun. And we will understand why I gravitated toward the near-death experience on my platform. And my channel is called Loretta _SharingGroup. And that's with 1 G. SharingGroup is one word, and it's with 1 G. So if anybody wanted to check it out. So my story begins, I'm going to highlight lesson 31 of A Course in Miracles, which is one of my favorite lessons. And it states, I am not the victim of the world I see. I am not the victim of the world I see. And this is a very powerful lesson, because we grow up not realizing that we are creators of our world. And so if things happen to us seemingly, we feel as if life is happening to us, and that whoever perpetrated the actions are doing something to us. And to come to the truth of, you know what? I'm co-creating this experience. And so it is a powerful, liberating lesson to know and to understand. And so I'm going to take you guys back to my experience. I have 3 children with my ex-husband. But after my ex-husband and I got married, soon after I married him, I'm like, you made a mistake, Miss Lady. And of course, I knew what he came with before, but I kind of, went into that belief that, okay, it'll change. We some kind of way magically think that that marriage will make things better, which is very naive. And I wasn't pretty young. So so I realized, you know what, this ain't it. Okay. So we divorced after about 3 years of marriage, and I just wanted out of the marriage. I did not want to belabor. Number one, I did not want to belabor the fees, right? And the attorney's fees and the hardship that a divorce presents on a family, and going through that process. And then I just wanted to get out. I was in a space of, you know what, you take your stuff, I take my stuff. Let's just walk away from this heaviness. And though on paper it stated that we shared custody, in actuality, I ended up with the kids full time. As a matter of fact, as soon as the divorce was finalized, he moved 2 states away. And so it was literally me with the kids by myself. My family is in the South. I live in New Jersey. And so it was me by myself. And it was fine. I made do. I struggled, but I made do. I did not want to put him up on child support because I knew the personality that I was dealing with. But I had a friend of mine who kept saying, Loretta, you got to put this guy up for child support. You're literally doing this by yourself. You gotta do it. It's not for you, it's for the kids. And so eventually I knew, that I had to make that move. And so I reluctantly filed for child support, and so began an incredibly tumultuous custody battle, a never-ending custody battle that entailed constant back and forth, tons of attorney's fees piling up. As soon as we would resolve one court judgment, he would file another. And for those of you who have had to be in litigation, especially through family court, you will understand that each motion that someone files, it's about $3,000 to $5,000 to get your attorney to respond to that motion. There were times when I even try to do it myself, just to minimize the cost. But it was, constant. As soon as I thought we would be out of that space, we would be right back into, and the issues would range anywhere from what school district does the kids go to who gets to wear braces. I mean, the issues could be incredibly minimum. And so I would appeal to him and say, listen, let's not give all the money to the attorneys. Let's give it to our kids. This is a hardship on the family. But I realized, Gretchen, that it was not to win. He was not wanting to win the custody. His intention, his goal was the battle. His goal was the fight. And so when was that going to end? And so as the debt continued to mount and the emotional burden continued to mount with no light at the end of the tunnel. I just got to the point where I became severely depressed. Severely depressed. Every day looked the same. Every day was the same day. When I would wake up in the morning, I would just open my eyes with dread. And I was pretty isolated. And eventually, I just got to a point where I just said, I'm not having fun. I don't think I want to do this anymore. I just remember telling God, I'm not enjoying life. Like, I don't want to do this. And no one wakes up and thinks, boy, it would be fun to kill myself. But as we know, suicidal thoughts gradually grow over time. Most people who have contemplated suicide are in unbearable pain. And it's not that they want to live. It's not that they want to die. They actually want to live. They just want the pain and the suffering to end. And the sense of hopelessness does not allow them to see another way out. And so that thought and those suicidal ideation continued. And I wanted to make the point, Gretchen, that everything we see through our eyes started with a thought. It could be the chairs we're sitting in, Gretchen. It could be the paint on the color of the paint on the walls. It could be even where trees are planted. Somebody thought, let me plant this tree over here, or I want to paint the wall this color, and I want to put this over here. It all starts with a thought. And so I wanted to highlight the importance of our thoughts. Most people think that our thoughts are private. They are not. And more importantly, our thoughts have impact, not only on us, but on the world at large. Our thoughts have impact. We grow up thinking that we're insignificant. We grow up being taught that we're insignificant, but we are powerful, creative beings. And so thought, if it's not interrupted, it can lead to destruction of ourselves or others, or a myriad of experiences. So what I wanted to talk about is, and I'm going to continue my story, is that we have 3 levels of creativity available to us. I talked about us being creative beings, right? So the first level of creativity is thought. And thoughts prop up from belief. So if you have a belief and you think a thought, that's the first level of creation. The second level of creation is our speech. And that's even a more powerful level of creation. That's why among friends, you may hear people say, girl, don't speak that in the universe. Because on an innate level, we understand the power of speech. And then the final and most powerful level of creation is action, right? Once we've gotten to the point where we are acting, that belief system, that thought, that speech, now we are manifesting that which we believe. And so I wanted to give everybody, before I forget, to make sure and emphasize to give yourselves permission to create space from you and your thoughts. People think that because they think a thing, that thing must be true. No, no, no. I encourage you that if you're having thoughts that do not serve you, give yourselves permission to separate from those thoughts. And I'm going to give an example. The example I'm going to give is a thought that I thought often is, I'm alone. Then why am I here? You know, I'm alone, I'm by myself. I have no impact on anybody. And so once we think a thought like that, we start to feel bad. And we think that we feel bad because we made that thought and that thought is true. That is not why we feel bad after a thought like that. The reason we have a bad response or a negative, heavy, sad response from a thought like that is it's your internal guidance system telling you, no, my love, you are off track. You are never alone. We are never alone. There are so many people walking around this planet not realizing they have angels and guides assigned to them, that God said, you follow her, you follow him, and help them navigate this dimension that they're in. And so you're never alone. You have guides, you have angels around you. Just because we don't see them doesn't mean that they are not there. So we're never alone. So, okay, I'm going to continue. So I know some people may be thinking, so wait a minute, this woman had 3 kids and she was thinking about killing herself. Well, if you're told enough that you are worthless, or if you're told enough that your kids will be better off without you, you begin to believe that. He had actually really kind of mind controlled one of my kids, and she ended up like thinking I'm the devil, he's the angel, because I would not talk about him to them, because why would we do that to our kids? And so it took her a while to realize that she was being told a lot of untrue things. But during that process, I just became convinced, like, I'm not doing anyone any good. How do I do this? Okay, I would do it when the kids are with dad. I began to really mentally go through the process of, how can I do this with the least amount of pain, with the least amount of trauma? I began to mentally, again, the momentum of our thoughts, plan this thing. And so during that time, I even had the music. Y'all, I had the song that I would have playing, because I'm a little bit dramatic. But I had a song that I would have playing on repeat when I did it. And this is when I realized that music has impact. Not all music raises your vibration. Some music lowers your vibration. And be careful about the music we listen to, especially if we are in a depressed state. It has impact. And so I would listen to the song over and over again, and I was beginning to mentally process, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? But some kind of way, I don't know if it just popped up in my feed, but these near-death experience stories started coming up on my feed and on YouTube. And so I began listening to these stories, these experiences from these men and women who had gone to the other side and come back to tell us about what they experienced. I became obsessed with them. I listened to them when I was driving. I listened to them getting up in the morning, getting ready. Excuse me. I listened to them before bed. I listened to them at work if I had a break. And my mind was not on board. My mind was like, what are you doing? Why are you looking at these videos? You're obsessed with, how many of these do you need to watch? And so I didn't understand why. I was listening to them, but other than the things that I had to do, like get up, get dressed, get the kids dressed, go to work, it was the only thing that I tolerated. It's the only thing that I could tolerate. And I don't know, I can't say that it put me in a space of joy, because I was not yet nowhere near at that vibration. But it reached in and did something for me. And so I continued to listen to these NDE videos, just over and over and over again. And this was before there was YouTubers like you and I, Gretchen. Like, this was before there were YouTubers who had a platform to invite all of the near-death experiencers on to talk about their story. So I literally had to like search every day for a new NDE story until I finally found this woman who had committed suicide and was revived. She had a video, and in her video, she said, we reincarnate over and over again with our soul families to have different experiences. And we give each other roles to play, accordance and in alignment with whatever experiences or lessons we wanted to have for that lifetime. And when I heard that, I felt like I had been walking in a desert, dehydrated, and finally I had some cold water to drink. That's how it felt. It felt like I've arrived. This is what I have been looking for. This is what I have been seeking all this time. And it just gave me life, literally. That's why they say the truth sets you free. Just hearing the truth gave me life. And so after that, I began to consume volumes of spiritual material. A lot of it is sourced material that was channeled through high vibrational beings. So I began to read Conversations with God. I began to read Your Soul's Plan and Your Soul's Gift by Robert Schwartz, which they're incredible books about the decisions we made before we were born as a soul. I read I read life after life books, or life in between life books, and hypnotherapy books, and Eckhart Tolle's books, The Power of Now. And I just consumed material that spoke to the truth of who we are and of who God is. And it took a while, but I was finally able to pivot my way of thinking from a path to destruction, right, and death, to love and life. And it was the near-death experience that allowed and enabled me to pivot my way of thinking. Then I came to A Course in Miracles and these other beautiful books that teaches us about who we are. How I got to A Course in Miracles is I discovered this woman by the name of Tina Louise Spalding, and she channels Yeshua. And she, through a process called automatic writing, which means that you have spirit have you dictate material for them, where Jesus had her channel and automatically write his words. And all of the books that she wrote referenced A Course in Miracles, like over and over again. I keep hearing about this book, A Course in Miracles, and finally I'm like, what's up? I got to get this book. I keep hearing about this book, A Course in Miracles. And so I began to study. And what it is it's a way for us to take our minds back. And you may say, what does that mean? Take our minds back. Well, a lot of people don't realize that we are conditioned into smallness since birth. You're born into a family and into a culture, most of the time, not everyone, that believes that children are to be seen and not heard, right? If children have spiritual experiences such as they see angels, or if they have experiences during their dreams, most of the time, the parents are like, oh, you just imagine that. Stop talking about your imaginary friends. People are going to think you're crazy, right? And so from start, that part of us that's connected to that information is shut down. And how we feel is shut down and minimized and discredited. So we have that home life experience. And then we go to school, right? Very early. And we go to school and we interact with beings who may not be awake themselves, right? So then that conditioning, that experience of smallness continues. I don't have anything against teachers, but my issue is with the school system as a whole. Many subjects that should be addressed that I think would be beneficial are overlooked, and other subjects are heavily invested in, such as war. We painstakingly make our children remember all of the dates of the wars and the commanders and who killed who. What is that? That's conditioning of violence. What does that tell a child? Somebody hits you, you hit them back, you hit them harder. And we were made to sit in hard chairs for about 7-8 hours and learn about things that spoke nothing to who we are. Wouldn't it be incredible if within the school curriculum, we were able to have subjects such as how to interpret your feelings and emotions, or how to create a happy dream? We are all in this illusion. So how do I not manifest a nightmare? And how do I create a happy dream in this illusion? How do I read my internal guidance system? How do I interpret how I feel? How do I begin to hear the voice of spirit? The voice of the ego is always the loudest, always the strongest, because we've catered to that voice for so long and wasn't taught that there was another voice. The voice of spirit is always gentle, always respectful of our free will, and always positive. And so how to recognize that voice of our guides, of God, or of the Holy Spirit, whatever language we want to use, how to listen to that voice. Imagine for a moment if we did that, how the world would look in 5 years, how the world would look in 10 years, if we reared our children in a way to recognize that which we are. I, like many people, grew up hearing that I was born in sin, right? And I just remember thinking, when I heard that in church, I just remember thinking, God, I mean, before I was even able to utter a word, game was over. I was done. It was a wrap. And I just remember the thought of an eternal hell, right? Which we are painstakingly told about. And I just remember thinking it was the forever part of it that really, really tortured me growing up. Just thinking, wow, God has created a hell for us to be in forever. You know, not from a few days, a few weeks, a few months. There's no end point. How can the mind conceive of that? And that's why I love the near-death experiencers, because you have people who have said, you know, I'm homosexual and I crossed over and there was nothing but love and light for me. I did this and I crossed over and this incredible love, I can't even describe it. Our vocabulary is too limited. And so what the near-death experience does is it blows away the dogma of what we've heard and what we have believed, and enables us to see the truth of who God is and release the fears. People are afraid. We walk away, you know, I've heard spirits say that they call this era as the era of fear. That's like the theme of this time right now. We are afraid of living. We are afraid of dying. We are afraid of making money. We are afraid of having sex. We are so afraid of every experience, even if that experience is an enjoyable one. There's this fear that there's a consequence behind it. And so I invite everyone to live and relax and to open up the possibility that God has been misrepresented. I've spoken to tons of near-death experiencers, and many times they want to stay, right? They don't want to come back here. They're like, no, please don't send me back. I'm good. It feels so good over here. Everybody's loving. It's beautiful. I don't want to go back to that place. Don't send me. I'm good. And most of the times they hear, no, you have to go back. And the reason why so many are sent back, because God tells them, tell everyone the truth of who I am. Tell them what you experienced. Tell them my character. Tell them the feeling that you have when you interacted with me. This is important work. Sharing these experiences and these subsequent downloads. It's a new way to break away the chains of dogma, and to invite the energy of love. It breaks Source's heart. It really does. To think, imagine being misrepresented in such a huge way. I mean, if we really allow ourselves to think about how God has been painted, he really sounds like a narcissist, right? Like, I love you, but you got to do what I say, or, there's a place that you'll be in eternity, that you're going to suffer, that you're going to be tortured. There's going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Who of us have not heard that? Weeping and gnashing of teeth. And so what happens is you have an entire population of people that may do right, but it's not love-based, it's fear-based. And so I just invite everyone to understand that you are not your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. I had many thoughts, especially during that time. You are worthless, you're alone, you're not good for much. And I thank God that Spirit intervened and had me turn me on to these videos that spoke to the truth of not only who God is, but the God that is within me. I often tell the men and women that I counsel when I did it, I often tell them to imagine yourself, you're driving a car, or you are steering a boat, or you're steering a ship. It doesn't matter, right? And so you're in the driver's seat. You got someone on the passenger seat. You got two people in the back. And so the person on the passenger seat is like, where are we going? You don't know what you're doing. You can't work yourself out of a box. Where do you think we're going? So that's one ego voice. And then you got someone in the back that says, well, it's really not safe for you to venture out. It's really not safe for you to go into these unfamiliar waters because you've been hurt and you've been harmed, and you need to stay exactly where you are, where it's familiar. Don't step out into new territory. Well, that's another ego voice. And then there's another voice that said, we shouldn't be doing this. You should be home cleaning up. You got stuff to do. You need to be sending emails for your job. Well, that's the taskmaster. But I remind you, because this is a matter of remembrance. That's what we're doing. We are going through a process of remembering that which we are. And so I wanted to remind you that you, my sisters and brothers, are in the driver's seat. You can listen to those different voices, but you don't have to. You can follow the leadership of that, the momentum of those thoughts, but you have a choice. I challenge my thoughts all the time. Most of the time verbally. And yeah, my kids think I'm crazy, which they always think I'm crazy anyway. But I challenge my ego. And I'll say, that's not true. You've lost credibility. What you just said is absolutely not true. Allow space between the beauty of that which you are and the thoughts, the energy impulses, because that's all they are, that crop up. Create distance and be present enough to recognize when you are thinking a thought that does not serve you. And so there's a whole story behind me waking up. I ended up, I talked about Robert Schwartz's books. After reading those books, I don't know, some of your viewers have read these books, Gretchen. After reading those books, it talks about the pre-birth planning. Robert had powerful psychics, one by the name of Stacey Wells, to go in and go through a deep meditation, excuse me, and actually perceive the pre-birth planning. So he addressed topics like being born blind, being born deaf, special needs, drug abuse, abortion, uh, child abuse, sexual assault. He went into as many alcoholism, he went into as many challenges, and that's what he called them, life challenges. And he found that every life challenge that he highlighted had a soul level reason. It was planned. For us, it's tragic. It's absolutely tragic, y'all. For us, it's tragic. But to the soul, the soul just wants to experience, right? We're bored on the other side. We know everything. That's why when we come through the birth canal, we forget. We have amnesia. Because then that's when you really get to create that which you are, right? And so he does this in those books. And so after I read the books, I'm like, I got to get a hold to one of these psychics. I have to understand what was my pre-birth planning with this man, my ex-husband, that we have gone through this difficult time to where I'm to a place where I want to take my life. I literally, y'all, I thought that I had like kidnapped him and like killed him in a past lifetime. I really thought that. I'm like, what did I do in a past lifetime with this man? And so I got in touch with Stacy, who was not cheap. But again, this was about my life. This was about me pivoting, right? And understanding. And so we had a session, and she told me, she said, you had not kidnapped and murdered him. The two of you in a past lifetime were in the industry of healing. He was a doctor, and I think I was something like maybe an assistant. And we lived in Germany. We all have we take different roles, y'all. So I'm in African-American skin this lifetime. Then I was a white woman. So we did this, and we lived in Germany, and I can't remember where he was from, but he was a foreigner. And so our colleagues did not respect his work because he was a foreigner. And she told me, and when she told me, I'm thinking like, oh, but she was like, you had this great big heart of compassion. You were just so compassionate, and you just wanted to support him during this time. She was like, you all were not you've never been romantically involved before this lifetime. And so in the pre-birth planning, he asked you if you could be that same comforter, and you told him, yes, but for a little while. Yes, but for a little while. And in exchange, you give me my 3 beautiful children. And so that was the agreement. But as a soul, I knew that there would be this dance. I knew that he would be a bully on the playground. But I also knew that it would push me into this level of healing and being a blessing for myself and others. That his egoic consciousness would be so dark that it would push me into remembering that which I was. And so after understanding all that, there was no way I could believe that I was a victim. I was astounded to know I chose this. And I gave him this role. I had this role. I gave the kids this role for us to play out this experience and learn what we wanted to learn. It's one on this other side, the soul knows everything. There is nothing that the soul does not know. But to know it and to experience it are two different things. And so it just completely changed. Perception is reality. It completely changed my understanding and perception of what was going on. If I believed I was a victim, then I would manifest victimhood. But if I believed and if I understood, you are not a victim. You chose this. Life is not happening to you. It's happening for you. And there are lessons that you want to learn as a result of this experience. But do not be fooled. This is an illusion. No real damage can be done to you. It's all an illusion. But if you, the beauty of understanding that if you create depression and sadness and powerlessness, then you have the ability to create anew. You have the power to create something new. How do you do that? Remember our levels of creation. First is with our thoughts, then it's our speech, and then it's our action. So if you find yourself thinking a thought that does not serve you, give yourself permission to pivot to a new thought. And I encourage everyone who is listening to this video, if you are in a low place, I encourage you to look at some NDE or some near-death experiencers, and you will feel better. You will feel so much lighter. You will be astounded at how similar the stories are. And it will reshape your perception of God, universe, source, whatever language you want to use. It will reshape your perception of that higher source, which is really the energy of love. And so, just like I was tired of hearing myself on my platform, I know y'all probably tired of hearing me. So I just wanted to share that with you all. And thank you so much, Gretchen, for allowing me to share my my experience with you, to you and your viewers.
Oh, Loretta, I feel like I've just had a love bath. Your love just washing all over me. And I hope that I know that the people will feel your heart, because I'm in my mind, the power of your heart. I had a line come through once. One of my favorite prayers is, God is love, and he who abides in love abides in God, and God in him. I don't know where I picked it up. But that's one of my mantras.
Yeah.
So then I asked my guides and angels, I said, what is love? And they said, love is the harmonious orchestration of energy, or the perfect organization of energy. And the way it was being shown to me was like an orchestra that's playing in a harmonious way, as opposed to the music which you brought up, which is very dismantling of us energetically. I mean, it can be, so we've got this incredible contrast that we're dealing with here. So much. I can't wait to watch this again. You covered so much ground.
Thank you so much.
I only have one little question.
Okay.
I'm putting my Jeff Mara hat on now.
Okay. Jeff Mara, the king of NDE.
Yeah, his work is really fun. Did you have a sneak peek as a child at what your future was. Did you have did you have experiences as a child that were like, no, wait a minute, this is bull. This is because I was brought up Catholic and it's all about judgment, heaven and hell. And yet the tabernacle in the church was so powerful and the ritual was so powerful, but the whole human part of it was just so dreadful. Did you
Mm.
have a did you have glimmers or glints of who you came in as?
That is as they tell Jeff Mara, Gretchen, that's a wonderful question. That's a wonderful question. Um, Growing up, I knew painfully that I was different from my birth family. As a matter of fact, I remember asking my mom, I remember being very small, maybe 4 or 5, asking my mom, am I adopted? Like I felt like I was adopted. And she was like, no, why do you say that? But I just felt, and I think this is consistent with light workers. We just feel different. We don't fit in. The cultures is different. And I definitely felt that. And then growing up, as I got older, I definitely just felt like everybody's in a different mindset, you know. So I did have that separated feeling. I never had a feeling like, Loretta, you're gonna be great. You're gonna be a teacher. None of that. And this is a part of why I'm expressing what I am expressing. And because we do what we know. My mom loved me the best she can, but when our children come to us and say these things, our first instinct is to say, "Oh, that was your imagination." And so I didn't have a feeling that, I would be anything other than the average person, but I do remember just that feeling of being different from
Oh, yes.
a birth family.
I think many of us feel like ugly ducklings in our families.
Yeah.
And but our family, you are my family. You
Oh,
are my sister. This is where we find our family.
yes, you are absolutely right. You are
And
absolutely right.
you give the most beautiful blessing at the end. And I'm not sure I'm capable of that, but let's do the heart of love.
Well, we'll do that. And there's one more thing I wanted to say that
Oh,
I
sure.
forgot before we end off. I wanted to express, and I think it's important. After I woke up, right? I read these books and realized we had this pre-birth planning. It's not like my ex-husband magically stopped filing emotions. He continued to file motions. But what made it different is I recognized that it was just content, right? An event is just content coming up in our lives, but that we don't have to go under. We don't have to go back into depression. I had more ownership of my response to that stimulus. So I wanted to share that, and it takes a while to create differently. And just because we wake up doesn't mean everybody else does, but absolutely, I definitely always like to share is that the most courageous parts of Source have decided to incarnate on this planet. There are beings, and I've said this before, there are spiritual beings high vibrational spiritual beings who have never incarnated on this planet and have no intentions of doing so. Why? We all know why. This is one of the densest places, one of the dense places that you can incarnate in. We have sexism, racism, violence, social conditioning. We harm our young. We're so many people are so very unconscious that the entire planet is waiting on us to wake up. And so this is a tough dimension. And so any and everyone who's listening to this video, remember that no matter where you are in your evolutionary path, you are a courageous soul. You are correct. You are a warrior. You're a warrior just for being here. Just for being here, for deciding to carry these bodies. These bodies are so heavy to the soul. They don't feel good. They're heavy. We have to eat. We have to drink. We have these minds that shape the way we think. It's not an easy feat. And so have respect for yourselves, for being here. Forgive yourselves for whatever it is that you think about and your vibration lowers. Forgive yourself for that thing and say, you know what? It was the very best I could do with the resources that I had. And once you know better, you do better. But have grace for yourself. Love yourself. When I first woke up, I used to look at myself in the mirror and just say, you are perfect. You are loved. And my kids would be like, what's going on with mama? But at least now she ain't depressed. Okay, we'll go with it, right? So have respect for yourselves. Really, really, really find what works for you. A Course in Miracles doesn't work for everybody. There are many paths to the mountain, but find what works, even if it's religion, just making sure that it's not fear-based. We don't need any more fear. So if there's something that you can believe in or be a part of that you love, that makes you feel good, do that. Do that which gives you joy. Do that which raises your vibration. Painting, coloring, dancing, singing, walking in the park, playing the guitar, playing with your kids. It does not matter. If it makes you feel good, do it. I never thought I would be a painter, but y'all see the Buddha behind me and this young lady behind me. I started painting. I'm like, oh my God, I never thought that I could do that. But once you raise your vibration enough, you'll be surprised the gifts and the talents that you begin to manifest. And I'm gonna stop right there because I can go on and on, as we know. But thank you so much, Gretchen, really, for inviting me on your platform. This has been a pleasure. This is one of the things that raises my vibration. It's been a pleasure being on your show. It really has. And for allowing me to share my story. A Course in Miracles says, we cannot give what we don't have. And so if I give this, it reinforces it for me. I get it back. And so I love it. I love you all, every single person who's listening to this video. And I love you, Gretchen. And we're all evolving, y'all. Be patient with yourselves. Be patient with yourselves. Love yourself. Parent yourself. Heal yourself. And you'll be amazed at where Source takes you.
Such an incredible message, really. And I'm going to take it to heart. It's so amazing to me to see, and I don't know how much younger you are than me, but this coming up, you know, with younger people. It's almost like passing the torch, and the torch is getting brighter and brighter. And you're just a really important person here. I am so honored to know you, darling. I really,
The honor is all mine. Yes. So glad we connected. And I'll be on again if you give me the invitation. I won't talk so long this time, but I'll be on again.
oh, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. So God bless you. And now we'll give each other the love.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. Take
Love
care.
you.
Have a wonderful day. I love you too, sweetheart.
Love you. Bye-bye.